The views and opinions expressed during Love and Life with Lana and Dave are those only of the speakers and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or the position of our podcast hosts or affiliates. Any content provided is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, anyone, or anything. All right, let's do it.
You're listening to Love and Life with Lana and Dave, the podcast where logic is power and you take control. Thank you for tuning in and making the choice to listen in and get ideas for your own love and life. Now, here are your hosts, Lana Williams and David Vaccaro.
I'm David.
I'm Lana.
That's right.
How long's it been since anybody heard that?
A little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Where the hell have we been? Are we going to tell?
We've been AWOL. We've been MIA. We've been...
All those things.
Gone.
That's right.
There's a movie called Gone Girl.
Yes.
That's gonna be my title, Gone Girl.
Well, what's mine's going to be? Gone in 60 seconds?
Could be. That's what you want. Or Missing Gentleman, or
Is that a movie?
I don't know. No, maybe it is. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
Gone Guy. I don't think that's a movie
Gone
either.
Guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not. But
Missing Boy. How's that? I think that's a movie.
Oh, that's nice. I get to be a boy. After all these
Well,
years of
I mean,
experience, I'm still a boy.
I know.
That's all good.
You act like a boy still.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in denial of my age. That's all it is. So we've been gone for a long time, and there's a reason for that. We're not just we don't just hate you guys. We definitely don't hate you guys.
I wonder if people think that we just stop doing the podcast. I mean, I listened to some podcasts of my own, and the podcasters have sort of like just stopped making episodes, and I'm like, are they coming back? Are they not coming back? Like, what's happening? Were they abducted by aliens? Or so I think that maybe people might have thought that we just gave up.
Yeah, they may.
Like that.
They may have thought, we just couldn't afford to do it anymore because we weren't getting coffees.
Yeah, well,
that could have been it.
it could have been.
Yeah,
it could have been.
So that's not the case. We both have had life things that we've had to take care of. One of them, some of you may already know. Some of my listeners do know. Our listeners know that, because I've talked about it on Facebook. My father has cancer, so that's been something that has taken some time. Not that, that's not the end all be all. I still can talk. But I had to deal with some things myself. And then I had a shoulder injury about a month ago, and it just recently started being bearable that I could actually have a conversation without moaning and groaning and hating the world because I was in so much pain. So there's that. And then,
less crankiness.
Yeah, I was so cranky. It was bad. You have no idea how cranky I was. My friends were calling me a bitch. And I was like, well, I get it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I can see why they would do that.
I can.
Sometimes.
I can too. I was miserable. I mean, listen. And the thing is that I had been to several doctor's appointments, and they just kept saying the same shit over and over. And I won't take a pain medication because I just won't. Right. At one point, I think I would have. There was 3 days of excruciating pain. When I tell you excruciating, I'm talking I was on the verge of like dropping. Like I felt like if the pain gets any more, I'm gonna go unconscious because my body's gonna protect my ass and say, "No, we can't handle this night." And it was bad, and it did not let up for 1 second for 3 days. It was horrible, and I thought, what if this doesn't ever go away? I mean,
yeah.
I'm not living like this, and I'm not going to get myself all hopped up on drugs and live like that either. It would have been a horrible life.
Like what would have been the choice in that case, right? What's the third option there?
It would have ruined my life as I live it today. Because I don't put anything in my body that changes my thought process, or, I don't like to have my mind clouded. I like my mind, and I like the way my brain works, and I don't screw with that. And, right. They offered me, well, you can go to they said, well, we can send you to a pain management doctor. And I go, absolutely not. I know what that means. Walk around in the cloud for the rest of my life. No, I'm not doing it.
Right. Dave's getting a call while we're talking.
Did you hear that?
The distractions of life. Yeah.
You did? How did that happen?
Yes.
Wait, did that come out over my computer
I don't
or
know.
something?
I mean, it wasn't loud, but I could hear it. It was very distant, but it was...
It probably came from one of my iPad or something. Sorry, everybody. Yeah.
Maybe.
So I already told this
let's
person
try
once.
Do Not Disturb.
I thought I did that. I did do that. So my phone apparently didn't send the information to my iPad, which is supposed
the person.
to. No, I already told the person once I'm doing the iPod. They sent the iPod. I'm doing the podcast. I'll call you later. www.lanaanddave.com. That's what I send automatically. Mm-hmm. And they call back again. So now I won't answer their call all day now as punishment. Just for all you guys. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. So that's where I've been. And that sucked a lot. But so I actually have what's called, in case anybody's curious, to like what injury. So I have no idea how I injured my shoulder. It just started hurting one day and got steadily worse. And
but we think you know, right? Like you think you might have been setting something up.
I think so. Something. Yeah, I was pulling the roof has canvas on the top of and I'm setting up camp, and I was literally it was over my head, so I was pulling from over my head, pulling backwards. So imagine putting your hand over your head. I know you can see it, Lana, but they can't. So imagine put your hand up in the air, like straight over up in the air, like you're raising your hand, and then pulling backwards. That's how I was doing it, and it was really hard. I actually didn't even get it done, but I was pulling as hard as I could, and I think that may have caused some damage in my shoulder. So what I actually have is it's called thoracic output injury, thoracic output syndrome, which means that between your collarbone and your top rib, there is a plethora of nerves that go over your shoulder and around the back and all down your arm. And I had compressed those somehow. And still right now, as we speak, my middle finger is completely dead. I can't feel it at all. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. Horrible. Yeah. But it's better. It's getting better because before I had a little bit of numbness, and then it spread all the way up to middle of my bicep on my right arm. And it's my right hand, by the way. And so I couldn't even like move my hand at all. It just killed. And you should see me trying to stir coffee with my left hand. I realized my left hand just sucks at life. It's just not.
Well, you need to build it up. This is your time.
Oh, exactly. And so, I think that I'm going to start using, I notice that now my right hand stays still and my left hand, for all of you that can't see me, Lana can. My left hand I use when I talk now, and not my right hand as much because it's my right hand still has some troubles. Like if I go to throw something in the trash, I'm not even going to be close. I throw off to the right and the left. It's like my arm don't work properly, and probably because I haven't used it in a month, to be honest. So I've been doing some of my own physical therapy. I found online what the doctors normally do and the procedures that the doctors are supposed to do. So I'm reading all these doctors' notes and what they normally do for this. And I just said, screw it, I'm doing it myself. I mean, of course, it took a lot of research because it'll say, this particular area, you want to rotate that. And I go, I don't know what the frig that is. So I had to look it up and, okay, so it's this part of my shoulder and this pitches and stuff. And so, you could be a doctor if you really wanted to. Yeah. As long as you're willing to do the research. For one thing.
I mean, at least I always tell people this, be a good advocate for yourself, right?
Yes, 100%.
Because I don't want to say that doctors don't care, because that's not really what I mean. What I mean is they see a lot of patients. They have a specific process that they just go by, and they just sometimes automatically do, and not necessarily every patient is going to benefit from that thing.
Exactly.
So when the patient comes in and says, "Listen, this is and this is why I say advocate for yourself." Sometimes doctors are more than willing to tell you what's wrong with you, and that that's not really what is happening.
Yeah.
So you need to sort of say, no, that's not what's happening. You need to speak up for yourself and say, either no, I've done that, or I've tried that, or I know I don't feel like that's going to work. Like, let someone know what's bothering you in a way that like they can understand, so that it's very possible that there's a whole nother treatment out there that you could have that they're not giving you because
right. And
you're not
also
telling them enough, or you're not being enough of an advocate for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And also, and this is a prime example of that. You have access to the doctor's notes, by the way. When you go to see the doctor, there's online stuff you can connect to for you, and you see your own stuff, like what the doctor thinks, the doctor's notes, because the doctor writes notes. And I looked at the doctor's notes from one of my visits, and it said, straight up on there, it said, no numbness or tingling reported. And I go, yeah, that's wrong, like completely wrong. So I immediately called my doctor and I said, hey, this doctor said there was no tingling and numbness. And they go, is there? And I go, oh, yes. And it's been like that for going on 3 weeks now. And they go, oh, that's a different thing. We need you to go to the hospital, right? So now I find myself at the hospital to make sure that I don't have now they're searching to see if I have a compressed vein, because if I do, I could lose my arm, right? So it mattered. And the doctor, and they go, did you tell the doctor that? I go, absolutely, because it's one of the things that bothers me. And not only is it numb, but it's painful. So it turns out that it was not the veins, thank God, right? Because, I mean, wouldn't it be horrible if I didn't self-advocate and I lost my arm or my hand or even a finger? You know, it doesn't make a difference. It's my right arm, my right hand. It's my, you know, it's what
there's no point in losing something if you don't have to.
Right. And it was I went in, remember I had appendicitis, right? So I did a lot of research on my own, and I actually find, and I wish, I'm sorry, I don't have it here right now, but there's a seed, not fennel seed. It's kind of, I'll have to, I won't look it up and post it because, you know, I'll forget, right? But so I did my own research. I did not want to have surgery because it's mine. I'm keeping it. And people are like, why don't you just have it taken out? Well, here's a misconception. They take out your appendix very simply. Your appendix actually does serve a purpose, by the way. And again, on my own research, I found that your appendix is actually, what is it? What are those things like acai and blueberries are good for? Antioxidants. Okay, so your appendix actually is responsible for putting antioxidants into your body. Okay, so if you remove your appendix and you eat acai and blueberries and stuff, you're getting very little of the antioxidant, where I, and people that still have their appendix, are getting a lot more antioxidants, and it's used for that. So I don't want to take it out. So I found another thing that, you know, and I still had the pain afterwards, and they said, well, eventually you're going to have it removed. And I said, okay. So I started doing research on natural things of what helps keep my appendix clean, because your appendix gets very dirty. And over the years, if you get buildup inside your appendix, it gets infected, and then it swells up and bursts. And that's what appendicitis is. Well, not the bursting, but that's basically what it is. And so I drank 2 of these teas I just took the seeds and I steeped them in tea for 10 minutes and in hot water for 10 minutes. And then I added some honey to make it taste better, because it doesn't taste that good. They smell really sweet, whatever, but they don't taste sweet. They just have kind of a shit flavor. So I added a little honey to it, and I drank 2 of those a week. And I have zero pain in my appendix now. Zero. It's gone. So it worked. I think it cleaned out my appendix. That's what it's supposed to do, and that's what it did. So look up stuff too. Don't be afraid to research stuff. And if it comes
your body.
Yeah, it's your body.
At the end of the day, the doctor's gonna help you, but they're not gonna be you. Like,
that's right.
Whatever happens to you that's on you. They can't follow you home. They can't. So when you walk into a doctor's office and you say, "Listen, I want this looked at and this looked at," and they say, oh, you know, whatever, it's probably just, I mean, sure, 99% of the time, maybe that's it. Maybe you're the 1% that isn't,
right?
Whatever it is that they think it is. But
yeah,
make sure you tell them everything. And then make sure you, like Dave, explain something to a doctor, and then that doctor didn't write it down. Make sure that the doctor gets what you're saying, like that they're paying attention to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then question their I know it's not. I'm sure there are a lot of doctors don't like this, but question their motives or their reasons for giving you the treatments that they are. Just okay,
Right.
why? What is this supposed to be doing? Or it doesn't mean that you're saying that they don't know how to do their job, but you're the one that's going to take the treatment they're giving.
I want to know what to expect.
Right.
That was
okay. What's your process or your line of thinking for this particular treatment? Like, what makes you think, based on what I told you, that this is the right? I just want you to put these two things together so I understand your reasoning.
How did you get to this? And I asked the doctor, and I said, so if it's nerves, why do they keep x-raying me? Because you can't see nerves on an x-ray. I know that. I'm not a doctor. You know that too. And and they said, well, it's the process that we have to go through, because an MRI, and this is what the doctor straight up said to me, an MRI costs $60,000 and your insurance won't pay for it until we exhaust all other things. I go, so in the meantime, I'm sitting here suffering in pain and not being able to use my right hand.
That is on the insurance companies, but at least you're getting the information, right?
Yes. So and I need to know that, right? So in the meantime, I've got, so now I'm supposed to, I would have been in pain from now until, and then I have another appointment on the 7th with which, and again, this all this shit started on the 1st of last month. Okay. Yeah. So this is an ongoing thing for a long time. It's not just gone away, right? So, and I was in constant pain. Oh, and by the way, they give me Flexerol, which is supposed to knock people out. Didn't even touch the pain, and it didn't put me to sleep because I was in so much pain that it had no effect on me whatsoever. So I just stopped taking it because it just made me feel cloudy-headed the next day, and I don't like that. So so basically, so now on the 7th, I'm supposed to go to a what are they called?
Like a specialist? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
ortho?
Yeah, I got to go to an orthopedic surgeon on the 7th, so they can probably tell me I need surgery. And then if I don't want surgery, then they'll issue me, and this is what the doctor told me is going to happen. Then if I don't, if there's a surgery option, or if I want to go that route, or I can go physical therapy. So then from there, they have to then prescribe physical therapy, and it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks. So now I'm thinking, okay, so we're talking about 3 months down the road, I'm still going to be in all this pain. So guess what I did? I started looking up the treatments in doctor's notes online, right? Because you can look at medical journals and stuff, and they're not easy to read. I promise you they're not. And you have to do, there's going to be a lot of bouncing around, like 15 windows open, because what the hell does this word mean? What does that word mean? But basically what I did...
If you're an INTJ or you're like a person like myself and my crew, you'll love this. This is a research.
Yeah.
This is like, you'll be doing it all day. You'll think it's great.
Yeah.
But most people hate it.
Well, so I didn't hate it because I was in pain, a lot of pain.
And you're learning and everything. But I'm just saying,
and
most
I love
people,
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people don't like all of that. They don't want to dig up the information. So but it's worth it.
I went through all the steps on my own, and I started doing the exercises that were, I followed it all the way to the physical therapy, beginning of the physical therapy. And then I was able to find out the physical therapy things to do. And I've been doing those exercises religiously, no matter how bad they hurt. And I'm getting better. And so I almost want to tell the doctors, "Nate, you don't get this money. I did it by myself. You guys should pay me, and I'll tell you what I did, and it resolved it. You should have told me that months ago instead of going through the procedure." And I get that they have to go through the procedure, but not while I'm suffering. I'm not dealing with that. And I get that,
Here's my thing, and I understand all of the different facets of it, I get. But if you're going to the doctors and they say to you, well, this is what you should do, and what you, like, I'll bring up the fact that I had an issue with there was a tendon in my thumb that was causing me a problem, and it was right at the bottom of the bone where my wrist is. There's this little tunnel that movement of my thumb. There's two tendons that go through this little, almost like I don't want to know what you call it, but it was irritated. Somehow or other I overused it, and it was irritated, and it was getting to the point where the more I used it, the more worse it got, and the more it hurt. And for me to completely not use it altogether would be good, but of course, that's hard to do when you're working. To me, that's like my mouse hand. And so I went to an orthopedic because I wanted to know, okay, this is bothering me long enough. I waited a good 6 months for it before I said, okay, this is not going anywhere. Like, I have to at least get some understanding of what this is. It wasn't cheap to go to this doctor, and my primary told me that. And I'm like, that's okay. You know, I have enough money saved up that I can handle this, because this isn't something I can't not be able to use this hand. Like, at some point, even just the thumb movement, I can't, it's a useless hand to me, and it's just going to hurt. Anyway, he brings out this thing, which I love, and it's like, here's all these different types of tendonitis and things that can happen to your hand, and here's what you have, and here's the description of it. And then he brought out, I'm crazy. If you bring out an x-ray machine and show me something while it's happening, it's like I'm a kid. Like, I think that's the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
So he brought it out and he showed it. See, when I move your thumb, see this? And then he drew me a picture. This is really what you're looking at. Here's the two tendons that cause your thumb to move and that kind of thing. And he said to me, there's a bunch of things we can do here. And he said, what we can do is I could give you a brace today, which I had a brace, but I bought it, if you buy a local brace, like at a pharmacy or something, it's usually not,
right.
It works, but it's not it doesn't work as well as what they give you from the doctor's office, because.
Right.
So he gave me a brace closer to what I had already bought, but this was much more stable, because I was hitting it in my sleep, and it was hurt so much that if I hit it while I was sleeping, it would wake me right up. So he's like, this is all comfortable, and it's all cushioned, and it's, really stable, blah, 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 so that you don't hit it when you sleep, and that's not going to help it heal. But he said, this is what we'll do. And I said, well, what's the process? And he explained to me the step-by-step process. You just need to, if you're talking to a doctor, just get that process from them. Understand.
Yeah.
And then if you don't understand why that's the process, ask them, why is this the process? Like, because we're dealing with insurance companies and blah, blah, blah.
They love to know. They love the questions.
They do love.
They really do.
To really be interested in their own. I think it's more interesting for them to talk to a patient that's really like aware of who they are and what they want and whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And so he said, we're going to do this. We'll give you a brace for a while, and then you can come back if it's still bothering you. And then at some point, we're going to give you a cortisone shot. And then if that doesn't work, then we're going to have a surgery. We're going to open up this thing so that these tendons can move through. And I said, can we just cut to the shot? Cut to the shot. Now, do I want a cortisone shot? No, I've never had one in my life. It was the first one I ever gotten. It was not pretty.
I heard.
I did not. I mean, I was swearing at the dropping F-bombs on the doctor. And I've told several people this. Yes, I was swearing, not at him, but I was dropping F, this is ridiculous. I can't. Yeah. And when they put the needle in, it's because it's at a bone area, there's no tissue there. It's just like, so it hurts,
it's
because
all
there's
nerve
nothing.
and tendon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
So he sticks the needle in, and it's like they're squirting liquid fire.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain anything else. It's like Novocaine, but it's like hyped up. It's probably like 5 times worse than Novocaine is when they give it to you. And so he gives that to me, and it's not like Novocaine's better, because at least Novocaine kicks in while you're getting the shot.
Right,
This doesn't have any Novocaine in it. I think that it had a little something in it, but not much. So then he pulled the needle out a little bit, then put it back in and twisted it and put it in and twisted it and turned it the other way.
Different angles.
That's like you wanted to kill somebody when they did that. But, and I'm like, how could this? I actually remember leaving and thinking, I don't know why I did this. This is probably like, I don't know if I'm having a reaction. I've never had cortisone, so I didn't know if I was having like an allergic reaction to it or what, but it was not. It was worse when I left.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, do I have to go back and like, I don't know if they gave me something I shouldn't have had. Like, it was, my whole hand like was inflamed over it.
Yeah.
But probably within, somebody's like, you'll get relief from this. It always sucks in the beginning, but you have to wait it out. And I'm like, wait it out? What? This is awful. 3 weeks went by. It's like, I feel nothing. I mean, it was to the point where I couldn't put my hand down and do push-ups. That's how it hurt before.
Yeah.
I couldn't get mobility to do push-ups. And I'm like, if I can't do push-ups and I can't use my hand for work, this is like,
problem.
So it's stupid, but he made me an appointment for this month, and he's like, if it doesn't work, it'll probably wear off or in 6 months or so. But if it doesn't work and it's still bothering you, then I'll make an appointment in June, and you can come back and we can deal with it then. But you can cancel this appointment. So I have the appointment. It's for the end of the month. I'm probably going to cancel it because all I needed to do was just get enough. I had inflammation there, and all really I needed to do was get the inflammation to go away so that it could operate correctly. And that was the only problem there. At least that was what he was showing me. And so I'm like, well, if I keep it stable at night and the cortisone helps it move more, it will get rid of all that irritation. And sure enough, I don't have a problem. But like, I could have just kept going with my life and I could have went away along with what he said and dragged it out and left with a brace and said, well, I don't really want a shot because,
For what? Yeah.
I'm a coward.
You want,
and I don't.
you want the pain to end. You want to be able to use your limbs. I mean,
so I'm like, okay, well, it'll suck to get cortisone, but I can walk out and tell everybody, hey, I broke my cherry. I did it for the first time, whatever. I get to tell the story.
Yeah.
And it did suck, but this could have went on till like September if I didn't.
Right. Or who knows? The inflammation doesn't go away. So that was one of the first things they did for me is they gave me a shot in my left shoulder, even though my right shoulder hurt. It was a anti-inflammatory that they gave me a shot of, and that burned a lot. I mean, I go, now I can't use either one of my arms. I go, thanks for that. I joked. But then something bad happened. So when it first happened, my doctor is all the way in Norwood, and I'm all the way up in Salisbury. So there was no way I could drive that far with my arm the way it hurt. So I went to the emergency room first. That was my first thing I did. And I went to an emergency room up here. They gave me that shot, and they gave me some anti-inflammatories to take home. That's what they gave me first.
But why? I have to ask you why they gave you the shot in the other arm.
Well, it's an anti-inflammatory that works through your whole body.
Oh, it just goes through the whole body.
Yeah,
okay, never mind. All right.
And
so if they had given it to you on the other side, you would have lost your.
I would have. I would have probably.
Pain.
I probably would have died. I probably would. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you would have felt like you would die.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would have wanted to die. I would have probably bashed my head off the floor and called it a day. But so
that's a pretty sight.
Yeah, bonk.
That's
night.
Dark.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in that much pain where I was considering just like, can I smash my head on the wall hard enough to put me to sleep? It was bad. But so then I called my doctor and I said, listen, I can't handle this. I'm in a lot of pain. This is insane. And I said, but I can't come all the way down to Norwood. There's no way. And they said, well, we have an office in Peabody. You can go see a doctor there. First thing they said is, that medication they gave you is junk. Throw it right in the rubbish. We're going to give you a different anti-inflammatory, which I'm still taking, by the way. And then they gave me steroids. You take 6 the first day, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've already done that. That's done and over with. That did not do anything for the pain at all. Neither did the anti-inflammatories. I was icing it like all over the place on my own, trying to find the most painful spot was literally if I touched my armpit, it hurt so bad. So all the nerves run through the shoulder. So, but then all of a sudden I'm sitting here one day and everything started spinning. And anybody that knows me knows I'm not a big fan of the doctors. I've never been in an ambulance ever in my life. Well, when I was in high school, I got hurt playing football and they took me in an ambulance. But that was the only time I've ever been in an ambulance. And I literally called 911 because I thought, I'm going to go unconscious. And here I am at a campground and nobody's going to know. And I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm having some adverse reaction to this medication. I have no idea. So what it turned out, I get to the hospital and the guy was great. He's like, so how do you feel? And I go, honestly, I feel like I'm really high. Like I don't feel, there's no reality here. I feel like I'm dreaming. I feel like I'm high. And he was funny. He leans forward and he goes, are you? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, I don't even smoke pot. I barely drink. I haven't had to drink in over a month, so no, there's nothing in my body besides what you guys gave me. Right.
Yeah.
So, and while I called 911, for the record, I called 911 and I said, I've had a problem with my shoulder. I said, I'm on this. I normally take these medications. I spewed everything as quick as I could because I thought I'm going unconscious any minute and I don't want them to come here.
Be able to tell them when they come get you. Yeah.
Well, right. I don't know if I was going to be conscious by the time they got here. I seriously thought I was going. So, it's a horrible feeling. So it was after that he told me, and it turned out that, because I was in so much pain, I was just laying there and I didn't eat anything or drink anything for 3 days. Nothing, not a sip of water, not a bite of food, nothing. So I was really bad dehydrated. And, people that know me know I talk about the threes because I'm a survivalist. And, you can go 3 minutes without oxygen before your body starts to die. You can go 3 hours without, shelter before in inclement weather before your body starts to get destroyed by it. 3 days without water, you start to die. And I did 3 days without water. Not a good plan because, I could have died from that. I mean, I was that dehydrated. So the doctor was really cool, and he goes, you need to drink Gatorade and stuff like that because you need the sugars, you need everything, not just water. And so I immediately, Ryan had come, my friend Ryan came to the hospital. I called him and I sent him a text and said, I'm on the way to the hospital. Can you meet me there? And he said, I'm on my way. And that was, then he showed up there. And the doctor said, do you want to get out of here or do you want me to give you IV? And he goes, will you hydrate? You need to drink a lot. I need you to down like a big bottle of Gatorade and then continue drinking Gatorades. So I said, no, I will do that. I wanted to leave because I wanted a cigarette. Now I know I'm not dying. Okay, I'm going to go get a Gatorade and have a butt, But that's when I realized that I need to fix this on my own. I'm not going to keep waiting because one doctor doesn't know what the next doctor did. And so the problem is that I started realizing
they should, though, because at this point we're all hooked up to the internet.
You would think. And I actually called my doctor and said, hey, about the numbness thing. They said there was no numbness and tingling. And when she goes, well, is there? And I go, yes, there has been for weeks. And she goes, well, I need you to go to the emergency room. And was my second visit to the emergency room. So, So then I said, all right, I'm not waiting for them anymore. I'm gonna research this on my own. They told me what it was or what they believed it was, and they don't know for sure if that's really what it was because they have not done an MRI.
It could be this. It could be that.
Yeah, they're assuming from my diagnosis, what I'm telling them, they assume that it's this. And I tried other things. I tried acupuncture. I had somebody come here and give me acupuncture. It's an electronic acupuncture. It's a thing called a dolphin. And it did actually work until they moved to the front. Once they moved to the front and they touched the front of my shoulder, it sent me, the pain immediately came back. So, yeah, I was like, I got to just work this out. So that's really where I've been,
Okay.
I haven't been having fun.
Get back to the original topic.
Yeah, where you been?
So I have been, it's really just been a combination for me between a lot of working and I happen to be probably, was it February maybe? This year was going to be my year I've been looking at the house market, watching it do whatever it does for 3 or 4 years. And this was the year that I saw that houses were starting to average out because the house prices have been crazy for a while. So I'm like, all right, when I wanted to buy a house, my credit wasn't the best. It was okay, but it wasn't where I wanted it. So I was like, you know what? This housing market's crazy. I'm taking myself out of the loop and I'm just going to save money and get my credit score up and whatever. And so this is the first year where, and this is just my personal paranoia probably, that I believe that the principals are coming down. Yes, the rates are going up a little bit, but there's this axis that I'm trying to hit where, maybe the rates aren't terribly high. But the principal is more reasonable. And I'm trying now I'm not rushing, but I want to sort of now start to buy property because investment companies are just eating up property. It's ridiculous. So I'm trying to see if I can reasonably and smartly get into something before there's nothing to buy anymore, because that's what I feel is happening. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I heard there's a crash coming too, but we'll see what happens with that. At least on the West Coast or the Southwest area of the country, it seems like the housing market is really crashing. So that will even be more beneficial. But I've been house shopping. Basically, that's the summary of what I've just said.
That's a full-time job, isn't it?
It is. And I work 2 jobs as it is. So to me, looking for a house is just another, whatever 8 hours I have left in every day is that's basically what I'm doing with it, unless I'm trying to sleep. So I just haven't had time to do anything else. I mean, Dave and I did a podcast a while ago and it took me 3 weeks to produce it. I mean, it's that's crazy. And I'm this thing's sitting in a hard drive and I just haven't had time to sit down and it probably wouldn't have it didn't take me that long to edit it. I just didn't have time to dedicate 45 minutes or something to sit down.
Even small amounts. So, yeah, you guys don't realize that it's time consuming, right? Because we have a conversation. You hear us talk about show notes. Those can last an hour sometimes or more.
Today.
It was well because we haven't really talked a lot. So we had a lot of conversation and a lot of from our show notes. What happens is we basically have conversations about what's been going on and stuff like that. And that's where we get show information from. And so it's valuable for us to do that. But
it is.
It's not like
takes time.
It's not like we have people that are giving us topics and they give us notes on the topic and then we talk about it. And we don't have producers that do all that stuff for us. So it's pretty time consuming. I mean, it's not horribly time consuming, but when life brings you things that keep you a little busier than normal, it doesn't leave a lot of room for the podcast. And unfortunately, the podcast gets kind of put on the back burner because it's not our job as much as we would love it to be. I would love to do this for a job. What do you mean? I get paid to talk all day? Yeah, give it to me.
So the house shopping thing for me, it's like the stuff that's annoying about it is like last minute open houses and deadline bids and stuff like that. That's like you're doing something completely different and somebody calls you and says you have 10 minutes to put together a bid for some houses you looked at last week and you didn't think you had all the time in the world, or this house just went up on the market and it's going 4 or 5 days right now. These houses, at least I haven't. It does change so much that like in the past week or two I haven't looked at everything as much as I should, and I'm sure everything changed in 2 weeks. That's how crazy it's been. It's better than it used to be, but it's still not as stable as it should be. So I'll see a house and it's like, if I want to move around that house or do anything with that house, I've got to immediately set up. I've got to call my agent and immediately set up a look at it. And we've already been burned like twice or 3 times with like bids that don't go through in time because we got in last minute or because we didn't get it, because they honestly don't give you enough time to like think about it.
Yeah,
like,
the housing market is completely different. I mean, when I bought my houses in the past, it was like the only thing you had to worry about is somebody else putting in a bid and they accept that bid before you get an opportunity. But now, because the housing market
it's the same now, but it's like you just don't have. The open houses are happening immediately. Like once the house goes up on the market, it's right around Thursday, and then they have open houses like Saturday, Sunday. And a lot of them are Monday deadlines. And sometimes you don't know the deadline's Monday. They decide all of a sudden Monday morning at 8 that they want a deadline at like 5 o'clock that day. And
because they had enough people see it, and people are aware, just like you said. Houses are going quick now. And there aren't a lot on the market. And because all the investors have been buying up properties during this whole COVID thing people were buying houses sight unseen for $50,000 to $100,000 more than the asking price.
With no inspections.
With no inspections, sight unseen. Yeah, it's insane. I
was just like, this is insane.
Yeah, how do you compete with that when you want to get a good house, right? Because, listen, I'm not some multimillionaire that's just going to, I'm going to flip that house anyway, so I don't really care what I pay because the housing market, it was a buyer's market, a seller's market for a long time. And so that's why they've been buying them all up. And, that's starting to slow down a little bit.
To be honest with you, it's going to get worse.
Yep.
It's a double-edged sword. So when the market is up and houses are extremely expensive, you can make great money on them. So you don't care as much if you spend over because you're going to make, even if you make $100,000, $150,000, and you have somebody come in for maybe $25,000 and upgrade the house or whatever it is, do the little things to make it presentable and sellable, and at least functional. Obviously, they don't come in and do $40,000 kitchens, but they do come in and at least make them look presentable enough to sell. But once the housing market crashes, it's going to be the same thing, but in the opposite direction, meaning that it'll be way more money for investors to be able to buy up properties. They'll have way more money to use.
Right.
And way more properties to buy, but they're also going to have a hard time turning them over. So, you know what I mean? There's always a plus on both sides for whatever reason. But
it happens. It happens all the time, too. We go through this process, right? And we've seen it before. We remember where anybody with a pulse could get, stated income. I make $200,000 a year when you're really unemployed. And they go, great, you can have this house. That happened in, 2001 to around that area.
Yeah.
And everybody bought houses. And then there was no houses left because of that. So then that's when the builders start coming around. And I think you're going to see that again. The builders are going to start building new properties again.
Oh, it's been happening.
Yeah.
For 2 or 3 years where I live. I don't know about everywhere else. But we've already been dealing with that.
I think it's going to be more so now because there's not enough properties that are even worth the money. There's a lot of properties out there that I look at them and I go, man, that's a lot of money. Yeah. Like I have a friend of mine just bought a house. It's her first house. She's buying it. It's a $500,000 house. She's buying a $500,000 house for her first house. I'm like, what?
Yeah, right now around here, $500,000 houses are what used to be maybe $200,000.
Yeah, which was your standard 50. House, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at for a regular one family or 3-bedroom house, ranch, whatever. It's five and change, and you're just like, what? There was a house around here that I was like, somebody who was selling it or somebody bought it, and I guess they were flipping it. I assumed that I was looking at it forever. I look at all these properties around here, just out of curiosity, like, oh, who's going to buy this, or what are they going to do to that? Kind of keep my eyes on properties in my neighborhood. And this particular one had been up. It was me and my dead ends. I love dead ends and corners and things like that, where there's really not a whole lot of neighbors on top of you, and you get a little bit of like nature. You get some trees, things like that. And so there's this one house that I thought was great, and I was like, I love where this is because it's like sort of on a half a street, half a lot. Like it didn't have anything next to it. It was the other side of the house was a corner lot, so there was no next door neighbor at all. There was only one across the street, and somebody bought it, and I'm like, oh, that's too bad, but whatever. And then I saw the sign go back up again, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I realized the person who bought it was probably just flipping it. And I saw the sign go up, and I went and looked at it on MLS, and the thing came up at like $575 or something. I might get nearly fell off my chair when I saw that price, and I was like, it's nice property, and it's really good, well situated, and it's got a good yard, and it's fenced in and all that kind of stuff. But $575, like,
yeah.
What?
Crazy.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay, that turned me off again. I was like, well, I'll just look at that when I walk by from now on and be done with it. But so that's what's been going on. Like, I actually decided I wanted to my whole thing is let me dip my toe in. So I didn't expect to be looking at houses. I just really wanted to pre-approve and just sort of see what they've pulled for my credit score, what I could afford, just like kind of, and then get an idea what the market was doing and what's the rate right now and whatever. I just wanted to kind of be me and do the data.
Oh yeah, I usually do. And it's unfortunate because for people like you and I like to do my research, especially when I'm buying something that's a lot of money.
You can't,
and you
almost can't.
They don't let you anymore. It's like, what the hell?
You don't have time.
No, you really
you just don't have time.
Do you want this house?
Somebody over there wants it. Or if you want to sit around and look at it, decide whether it's worth it, somebody's going to come along and take it for $50,000 more than, and they don't. I mean, what's going to happen is I think these properties are going to go by the wayside in the sense that these people don't care what's going on, and then they're going to find out later what's wrong with it, and then it's going to end up somehow, so they're not doing any, or maybe they don't, I don't know. They have the money to spend and they don't care, but I'm not going to get into a house.
How do you compete with that, right? So I have a friend of mine that sold her house last year, or maybe the year before, I think. Mm-hmm. It was during COVID, right? Yeah. She put her house up for $600,000. And she expected that they were going to come in and go, I'm going to deduct $5, because before you'd be like, I'll give you, $550.
Discount offers and negotiations.
Yeah. So she goes, I'll give you, that's what she was expecting because it needed a roof. So she's like, they're going to come in and they're probably going to give me $550, and that's fine. Yeah. Sight unseen. Somebody bought her house for $700,000. She was asking $600,000, expected to get $550,000, got $700,000 sight unseen. It needs a new roof, need a lot of work. The house needed work. That's insane. How would I compete with that? You know what I mean? Right. If I was interested in that house and I go, well, yeah, I'll give you $550,000, and then somebody else goes, yeah, I'll give you $700,000. I don't even have to look at it. No, I think that's when I got it. I just recently got outbid, and when you do. Because it's your money you're spending, when you do put a bid in, you're like, well, how could anybody beat that? I mean, that's a good, solid, and then they call you back an hour later and they're like, yeah, no. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. And
well, what did they do? Who came in? What did they,
Yeah. So, the girl I told you that just bought her first house for $500,000 I don't even know if it went through, actually. I haven't talked to her. But so her bid was for $500,000. They were asking $450 for the house, and she put in a whole $50,000 more than they're asking because she wanted the house. And I'm like, that. Yeah. I go, are you going to get inspection and stuff? And she's like, no. Nope.
Oh, no.
I'm like, no. See, I would never, ever
see
buy
what
a
happened
house.
to me? Did you see what happened to me with the first house I had with the inspection that I did? I mean, I saved myself probably $30,000.
Yep.
In ridiculousness.
Yeah. Well, more than that, too, because the house is not valued what you're paying for it. I don't care what anybody says. They're way overvaluing houses right now. And when the market crashes, so let's say you buy, and what a market crashes is a good thing for a buyer. Mm-hmm. But once you already own a house and the market crashes, let's say you pay $300,000 for a house, and the market crashes and it's worth $150,000. You have no equity in your home. In fact, you're upside down forever, right? Yeah. Until the market comes back to this silliness. Because right now it's at a silliness that I personally have never seen it get this bad, where houses are selling for. I mean, my grandparents bought their house. I mean, granted, I was in 7th grade or 6th grade when they bought the house. They paid $12,500 for this house. When my grandmother sold it, and she sold it, let's see, probably it was 15 years ago now. They sold the house. They sold the house for $650,000. They paid $1,205 for it. You know,
right?
It's
I mean,
like what
we do have to look at inflation on something like that.
But that's a ridiculous amount of inflation, though. I mean, I just don't get it. It's still the same materials. It's like
that's the thing that I've been trying to. I did speak to my financial guy, the guy that's taking care of my loan stuff and whatever. And I'm like, can I ask you a question? I mean, for the past 3 or 4 years, people have been like buying houses $300,000 more than for. I mean, this is what they're asking. Let's say somebody's asking for $200,000 more than it's worth, and then these people are coming in and they're dropping $100 on top of that.
Right.
At the end of the day, like, I don't care what the market does. Like, that's it for them. Like, they can't refinance out of that. That's not happening. Like, that's what they paid and that's it. And so, like, why would somebody do that? Why would somebody pay another? And he's like, because the rates, to be honest with you, the rates are so low that there were people willing to do that. Mm-hmm. Because if they locked in their rate at 1.5% or 2%, then they didn't care that the principal was that high because the rate was so low.
But in reality, if you think about it, just because the rate is low, you paid more than the house is worth. You're still paying that extra money. They're just calling it the value of the house.
Understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense
to me.
And he's like,
yeah, well, I'm like, somebody one time told me forever ago, and it was before I even got into houses or whatever, that I've had so many friends that have gone through the real estate market and done that for a living for a while, and some that still do. But marry the house and date the principal is really, or excuse me, marry the principal, date the rate.
Yep,
is what I've heard.
Yep.
So the principal's the principal. I mean, you can stand on your head, you can balance, you can spin plates, you can do whatever you want to do. Right. But the principal's not going to change. It's just what it is. But the rate is really where.
You can
get
always
a high
change
rate
it.
When you walk in, you can refi it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've been. I'm not going to pay a ridiculous principal just because everybody thinks they need to have a property yesterday and it's the pandemic and whatever the hell it is that's freaking people out and making them go crazy. I'm not going to do that. Because I won't buy a house that's not. It's so easy to buy a house right now. I think after the pandemic that somebody can just hand to you and you don't really know what you're dealing with unless you inspect it.
Right.
And so I just decided I'm not buying a house that's not inspected. I'm just not going to do it. Luckily not in a position where I'm in any danger to have to leave where I'm at.
Right.
I'm actually in a really, really good place right now where I make really good money. My rent is really, really good, reasonable compared to what's making me want to buy a house right now is what the rents are, what's going on with the rents.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Even though that's not what's happening to you, you have a great.
It's not what's happening to me, but no matter who you are, you always have that weird thought in your mind, whatever, who knows? Something could happen, and at some point somebody could raise my rent, or I might
God
have to
forbid
leave.
she decides that she wants to get the going rate. I mean, what are you going to do?
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it.
I told her, I actually in this situation. My landlady and I have known each other for 6-7 years now, and I actually told her I'm in the process of buying a house. I've pre-approved. I'm going to start looking. Do you want me to buy this property? I'll ask you first.
Yep.
If you're looking to sell, then let's talk about this now because that's what I'm doing. I'd much rather buy this house from you,
of course,
and not have to go anywhere and just take in the rent from downstairs and whatever, fence the yard and be done with it, than like leave and go look elsewhere, deal with people I don't know.
Right.
And she, we had a very long talk about it, her and her now fiance, because she didn't ever want to sell this house until she was engaged.
Right.
And all this other stuff. But anyway, her personal life isn't really the point. The point is, I wanted to make sure, good and sure, that like she wasn't looking to sell at any point soon. And she's been getting calls for 3 years because it's been insane. She's like, I've been getting calls from. She's like, I actually have to block numbers. I'm getting calls at least once a week. I get a call with asking me to buy this house.
They want to list their house. Absolutely, yeah.
And she's like, you know what? I know about capital gains. I'm not going to take that much money in and not have anywhere to put it. If I do sell the house, I want to make sure I know what I'm going to be able to do with the money. Blah blah blah. This whole plan that I have that like I can't just sell the house because I can. I want to make sure that I'm not dealing with. I need an investment. The money has to go somewhere. I can't invest in my boyfriend's property. He's got stuff. He's renting properties. If I put money into him, then there's this whole thing about us and our family and what happens when we both die and all this other stuff. And she's like, I just assume she's a lot like me in the sense that she's looking at the 5 to 10 year picture of what she's doing.
And that's the smart thing to do.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah, you kind of got to look where it's going to be and where you're going to be in the future.
You have to, but like I'd be honest with you, a lot of people up and down my street have clearly not been looking 2 feet in front of their face. They've all sold their houses up and down the street in the past 3 years.
Right.
That's great, but then what?
Yeah.
So a lot of people ended up not knowing where to live because they had to buy a house or they had to go buy something else, and there's nothing.
No.
At least nothing. They'd had to buy something for more than they sold, and so they end up losing money. Or they got to move back in with their in-laws or whatever.
Yep.
Or they've got to rent an apartment somewhere, unless they're downsizing and moving into a condo. But anyway, that's where I've been pretty much just like, okay, I'm at a point in time where I know I'm in a place to buy, and I have the money. My credit's where it needs to be, and I know how much money I can afford, and I want something I'm really mostly interested in, like a decent property that I can do what I got to do with. And my dog has a yard. It's a big thing for me.
Oh, of course.
That my dog is. He's covered, and we have like a little property belongs to us. I just really want that to be able to sleep one night and know nobody's going to sell property under me. Nobody's going to tell me I got to get out. Nobody's selling the house I'm in. Nobody's going to raise my rent, whatever. And yes, if my principal's higher than the rent I have now, okay, but it's at least going into my investment.
Yep.
So that's what I'm doing.
And that's where we've been.
But that has been crazy.
Of course.
In the sense that I've had to drop everything and just run to some house that's, 40 minutes away or 30 minutes away, or, we can get a look at it right now. Can you get something together right now? And it's kind of like, I was going to go to bed, but okay. And my agent and I are like crawling around. She's getting lockbox access, and we're crawling around with like flashlights in our house, looking at basements at like 8:00 at night, because that's when we said, we're so worried about somebody outbidding us and getting in on something before we see it. They're going up for sale, and within 3 or 4 days, they're under contract.
Yep.
So
that's the way it is.
Anyway, that's what's happening now. I think I'm hoping it's going to slow down a little. If it does, it'll actually be even better for me than it is now.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think the market's going to go up at this point.
It's not.
So anyway.
It's definitely not.
I hope not.
It's gone ridiculous. It's kind of like, to me, this looks like the whole .com thing back in the day, right? .com, people were throwing $500 million at businesses that were just ideas that they weren't even, which is insane. And then of course
it's so weird to watch that.
Yeah, that doesn't last.
Is it a frenzy?
It is a
There's
frenzy.
some kind of a human condition where people see something happening, and I'm not going to lie. Once you get out there and you start looking at houses, or you get it, at least as far as this is concerned, the frenzy of I got to get it now, that does hit you, and you start wanting to throw ridiculous money at somebody just to win a bid, and then you have to stop and go, wait a minute.
I'm not being smart here. Yeah.
It's very easy to get caught. I can see how people get caught up in it. I don't know how they end up going to the end of the line and really putting themselves in bankruptcy over it. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah. Well,
I get the feeling of how you feel like that FOMO, like you're going to miss something that somebody else is getting.
It's kind of funny that you brought that up, because that's an instant gratification thing. People want it now. And we are actually going to have one of our podcasts coming up soon is going to be on instant gratification, and people that want it now, that don't think about the future at all. They're just willing to dive in regardless of what the future will hold. So we're definitely going to be talking about that in one of our upcoming episodes too. So
yes, and so how about we wrap this up now? We just wanted to make sure that people were aware that we were not missing.
Yeah, we're not missing.
We were not abducted or anything, or we weren't sex trafficked or anything.
Yeah, no.
We were definitely still around. That's terrible.
So
that was a bad joke.
I'm gonna tell you right now that I wish I was sex trafficked.
Yeah, well, no, but that's even worse, Dave. We don't want to make joke about that because that's actually a serious
thing. I know it's a horrible thing.
But I will say this: there is a joke I do want to make, and that's Dave and I. If Dave and I are sex trafficked, we would know the sex traffic industry is really going to hell. The two of us get taken and put into the market.
Right.
Things are not good.
Yeah.
People are really looking for some desperate stuff out there.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
I mean, I even put out an ad saying that I was willing to be trafficked if that was okay. But nope.
He actually, Dave actually put a. I'm going to ignore that joke, and I'm going to say.
I know we're going to get in trouble.
He put a post up on Facebook about how he's looking for like a temporary girlfriend.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks
because he couldn't. Yeah, he needed to deal with he had the whole dead arm thing going.
Well, it was so. And my left hand just doesn't work for anything. I can't even stir my coffee with my left hand. But really quick on that, I forgot to say that was the first thing they told me is to stay in bed and stay flat on my back, laying flat in the bed, and do not use my right hand, and do that for 5 days. I go, yeah. How do I eat? Like, I'm.
And then they did this thing where they
told me to massage it ice it and massage it every 20 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Massage my back. Okay. I'm a single man. That's not a feasible option for me at all.
Right.
Like I have to eat. So yeah.
Yep.
So that's.
And when you didn't, you got an ambulance.
I did.
We know how that turned out.
And it wasn't even the food so much, but it was and then I will say that. Somebody brought me over microwavable food so I could just throw it in the microwave, didn't have to do dishes, and I could eat.
That was nice.
It was nice. I gained 11 pounds in 1 month of eating that crap, though, and it's possibly all
it's better that you gain 11 pounds than that you die of dehydration. If you have to choose between the two things.
True story.
Then I guess you take the 11 pounds, as ugly as that is and as hard as that is to freaking shake.
Oh, well, I won't because I gain and lose weight pretty quickly. If I, when I start eating healthy again and get back on my, because I've been so unactive, and this is the time of the year where I'm mostly active. I mean, this is when I do all my stuff. I mean, if you come here, my RV there's still stuff everywhere. I haven't been able to put it away and unbox stuff, and so that's where we've been, and we're back for now. And
we're back for now. We don't want to make this podcast too long, although I think it's already 3 hours, right? This one
I don't know,
that we were going to make for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see.
Supposed to be a shorty.
What time is it right now? Okay, so we've been rolling for.
Did we do?
When I checked the time when we first started the podcast, and I checked the time, which was about 10 minutes after we started, it was about 3:00.
Oh my God Almighty! We did.
That's
it
all
again.
right. This is how we are.
We're done. We're done. I've been David.
I have been Lana. And we will be back next week, so make sure you check us out. www.lanaanddave.com.
Yes.
And we need some coffees to come in like pretty quick. So right now, go to buymeacoffee.com/Lana and Dave.
That's right.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
That website, all of our social media and all of our platforms are listed, so I won't bore you by listing them now, but they're all there.
Yeah.
In the show notes, we'll give you whatever you need.
That's it.
All right. So we will talk to you guys very soon.
All right. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Talk to you next week.
We will. All right. Bye-bye. Hey, you just listened to Love and Life with Lana and Dave. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share the podcast, leave us a comment or review, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. We'll see you soon.